Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible, one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of a new book we have coming out called Sister Armor, Healing in Community. Yes, I love it. And I'll say, before I introduce these lovely women to you, I'm going to say a huge thank you to Tiffany Borner for being the lead author of this project. Tiffany, thank you so much. You have brought together a stellar group of human beings for this book project, and we would not be here without you. So thank you, thank you. So I am happy to introduce to you all Michelle Bain. She's a certified life coach who helps women embrace the life they really want with courage, authenticity, and without apology. I've got Kelby McCumber Morris, and she's an energy facilitator with shamanic flair, an herbalist and grower, and she is passionate about sharing nervous system regulation and our body's innate healing capacity. And Mary Lloyd has over 30 years of experience as a wildlife biologist and natural resource professional, and is the owner of Mary Lloyd Medium, where she helps clients reconnect with their animal and human companions and all of nature's elements in their life. Whoa. All right. If y'all can't feel the power I have in my Zoom room today, I'm not sure what's going to do it. Except to say, get ready, because these ladies are going to share about what they wrote in Sister Armor. And Michelle, I'm going to start this party with you. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks, Laura, for inviting me. So my name is Michelle Bain, and my chapter is chapter 19. It's called Trust the Process, Journey Out of the Darkness. And it's really a story about how I had to rediscover myself after my divorce. So I just looked at the story again, and I really liked my first sentence, not to brag about myself or anything, but it says, flashes of insight when they arrive unbidden from the subconscious often have the power to stun. I was actually stunned by my first sentence. I was like, wow, that's really good. But that really encapsulates the story, because I had to make a choice when I became aware of what I was doing. And the story is about the demise of my marriage, and it's almost domestic violence. It ran right up against that. It was a hard story for me to write. It was a hard story for me to look back at. But the healing part of that story I felt was really important, because when I had that aha moment, it was really pivotal in me getting better, because it wasn't just my divorce, it was a bunch of life circumstances. A couple of people committed suicide that I knew. I had to move. I was being sued for money. It was just a whole year of, I don't know if you guys know, but sometimes when it rains, it monsoons. And then after the monsoon, there's this tsunami, right? So like every time I tried to stand up on my little legs, then, some new event would come by. So it took me a long time, but I remember where I was when I had the realization that the way that my ex spoke to me, yelled at me, talked to me, was really a reflection of the way I still spoke to myself internally. So all I had done was manifested somebody who talked to me the way I talk to myself. And that was a huge aha moment, because I could make that choice then, right? Am I going to, look at this? Or am I going to shove it down and act like I didn't have that realization? But it was honestly so big that I had to proceed with it. And so that began my journey of taking baby steps to reclaim my life, rediscover who am I after this big divorce? What did I want? Everything had been stripped away. I could no longer be the fixer. That was kind of like my role, turning myself into a pretzel. And I could no longer do that anymore. So how did I proceed back, right? I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive my ex. And I had to take a lot of healing steps to move forward and to reclaim my life. So in a nutshell, basically, that is what my story is about, and that I didn't do it alone. I did not do it alone. And I think that that's one of the big things when we go through a major life transition is like, who's here to support me? How can I get help? And so, yeah, that's in a nutshell my chapter. I hope you all read it.
Kim Michelle, I think, there has to be a place where you make the decision that things are gonna have to change. And there is like that day where there's a little bit of a turning point and you have to think, believe, and act differently than you were the day before that. Did you have a moment like that you want to share a little bit?
Well, I remember I was in the living room. I don't know why I remember it. It was a sunny day. And I was sitting on the couch and feeling bad. And I guess I was journaling, which is a tool that I use a lot. And that is when I had that aha moment, like, oh my God, why do you still talk to yourself like that? This guy is just talking to you like you talk to yourself. And I had to really examine what was my inner self-talk. My inner critic was still very loud and strong. And in that moment, I had to make the decision to change that dialogue with myself, to have kindness, gentleness, self-compassion with myself, which is not how I grew up. It's not how I talked to myself. But I realized I was never going to heal unless I started down that road.
Well, I can't wait for our listeners to read your chapter and all of your chapters. Thank you all for saying yes to this. Thanks for being so vulnerable with your stories. And really just as you move those stories out of you in the ways that you did, you're giving other people permission, right, to make a change. And that's why I'd asked you about that decision day, because it's like, that is hard. and until it becomes absolutely necessary, I think, like for your survival. And then you're like, all right, I don't have a choice anymore. I wish we could make these decisions sooner or faster, but sometimes it takes that moment,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Kim Michelle. We'll be back to you in a couple of minutes with some other good stuff.
Okay, thanks, Laura.
Mary, tell us about your amazing chapter.
I've written chapter 10 of Sister Armor, and the title of the chapter is Unwind, Love's Intervention of a Tightly Wound Soul. And it is really the journey that I've been on, well, most of my life, but really in the last 5 or 6 years. So it's pretty recent, and it goes through how I had taken on the role of being there for everybody else, being there for, my family, my job, the resources, everything but me. And it gotten to a point where I was so wounded being there for everybody else, I could not even function. It's very raw, not much grace in what went on, but it really shows that when we get to that point, right as we are transitioning in our life, and my transition was from a 30-year career into another life that I had no idea what that other life was going to be. And when we get in those transition points, everything gets compressed and gets, it's going to get forced to the surface. And that's exactly what happened. Once it happened for me, I was able to start to unwind all the years of obligation and doing things that weren't feeding my soul, weren't helping me to support myself and even the people that I love the most. And through that unwinding, I found, it was really my awakening to what I do now, which is really helping others to connect with all aspects of their life. So I also love that the community that came forward for me. The Sister Armor wasn't as much the people in my everyday as in my physical everyday. It was those on the other side. That was the community that came forward and helped me unwound.
Nice. I love the word unwind. Being I've got a background in physical therapy and myofascial release, and we have unwinding as one of our hands-on techniques. And I love the idea of using it for unwinding your whole life, and coming back to the joy is what it is for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you want to say about that?
Most definitely, it's people say let go, just let go of things. Well, not everybody or every situation can just be let go. To unwind, there's more of an active role. It's a process of revisiting and really healing of what you've gone through. So I found that letting go is for some things, but unwinding is perfect for a lot of other things. And that's what I needed in that at that time. And that's what came forward to write in this book.
Yeah, perfect. I love the way that you're describing that. You have to be present and in your body. And yeah, it's not all just letting go and surrender. You have to really be present for what's possible in those moments. Profound chapters, all of you. Thank you for just taking little pieces of your heart and putting them out there for everyone to read. And it's, oh my gosh, the feels in this book, y'all are going to be floored. Kelby, how about yours? Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Laura, for having me. I resonate so much with each of your chapters and all the other ones that I've read. I'm so excited for this book to come out. I believe mine is chapter 13, and I've entitled it what my business motto is, which is fully embodied, fiercely empowered. So thank you all for that great segue, because it was so aligned with kind of my motto and just how I live. And I am speaking of spiritual growth through illness and pain in this chapter. And that is my life story. I am sharing with you the process that I have gone through of receiving many diagnoses, one after the other, and figuring out how to live my life in that space and not be succumbed by society's view of when things are down, we act and behave in a down way. I am speaking to you about how I've made my way through it so that I can still sit here right this moment speaking to you in a considerable amount of pain. And yet I'm happy and I'm glad to be here, and I'm not faking that, and I really mean it. And I'm sharing some tools with you in this chapter about how I've gotten to that place. I'm sharing the realness about how not every day is like that. Some days are in the shits, and I've really got to pull myself out. And just like Mary was explaining, it's a huge unwind. It's not just a real simple, I picked this tool and so I meditate every day and I'm all better. I'm really kind of giving you guys a little bit more about what I've gone through to get where I'm at, to live a place of chronic illness and joy simultaneously. And kind of like some of you have mentioned here, this process of writing has been so tremendous. It has been a metamorphosis for me to just dive into myself in these ways that I haven't looked at myself and my own story from this perspective. And then the opening and awakening of sharing that with others, just to have other people help me write it. And now the release, and to know that other people in the world will know my story and parts of it, and that I'll get to share tools and tips with how they can change their perspective on living in this way. I have conquered a lot of health and diagnoses over the years, and therefore I have a lot of people send me their friends and family and, oh, can you help my friend out? And so this was kind of a great way for me to be able to give some feedback on some generalizations of how to do it. how to get started and how to be in that balance and live on that fulcrum of between two worlds, if you will. And that goes for my spiritual world and my not so spiritual world, those people in my lives that come in at both of those places as well. And finding myself in a balance of that part of my life, as well as the illness and joy part of my life. So I've really enjoyed writing this chapter. It's helped me work through a lot of things I didn't realize were still kind of left over. And it feels really good to share about how community has helped me. A lot of people feel like they have to go it alone. And so my chapter speaks about that. And then the community that I've gained in just doing this chapter and being part of this group has been really a beautiful mirror to that as well. So I'm super excited for our release to come.
Oh my goodness, me too. And thank you for talking about the writing process itself. I appreciate you, just your words about that, because I'm really trying to help authors be in that process, have it be a healing experience and not something that makes you want to run and hide, which is what happens to a lot of us when we're sharing stories for the first time and we get into our head a little too much, right? And
I'll say I went under the covers a few times.
I know. I know. I still do too. You know, it depends on the story and it depends on the level of vulnerability I think I'm at. And we do this to ourselves up here, you know, in our heads about that. But you all did this so beautifully. So thank you all, you know, really for stepping up and saying yes to the challenge of it. It's a big deal. Okay, so all of you have talked about something that I'm going to just slide right into this next question about for all of you. Mary, I'm going to start with you for this one. What does sister armor mean to you?
It is a strength. It is a comfort. It is encouragement. From your closest community or from even a complete stranger. It is something that comes forward and just helps you to keep yourself upright in that moment that you need that little support. Sometimes we ask for that help to come in. Sometimes we know we need it, but we can't ask. And Sister Armor's, once I heard it described, I find it magical because it always comes up and kind of embraces you when you need it, whether or not you ask for it or not. So it is a real, it's that hug, that arm around you to help you keep going. So it's community, asked for or not, in the physical or in the spiritual. It's there. It's your support system, and it's a beautiful magic that helps us through.
I love so much hearing you all talk about this definition in our other interviews as well. And each of you are just touching on these magical pieces of what this is in different ways. And I said it in the last interview too. We need all of the ways to talk about this. We need all your voices. We need all of your amazing stories, because I could hear this 100 times, but on the 101st time, it could ring for me. Like, I need to hear it that way, you know? Thank you for that. I love it. It's a hug, and it's a hug whether you want it or not. It's coming your way. That is beautiful. Okay, Kelby, what do you want to add in terms of what sister armor means to you?
Yeah, sister armor. It's why I shared my motto with the title is fully embodied, fiercely empowered, because I think that I am able to be those things because of my sister armor, because I am witnessed in my growth. I am witnessed in the places that I am holding space. I am reminded of who I am when I fall. all of those things and the community around me having this sister armor, what keeps me fully embodied and fiercely empowered. It's what, gives me the ability to be those things and to stay in that power. And when I forget myself, my sisters bring me back every single time without fail.
Yes, they do, don't they? I just wrote that one of those pieces down. I'm reminded of who I am when I fall.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, the amount of times that was my experience in these beautiful circles of men and women who hold that space just by who they are in the world and the awareness practice that they are practicing. Oh my goodness, yes. Okay. Kim Michelle, it's hard to go last on this question, I know, but I want to hear your version of this. What do you think of when you think of sister armor?
Well, I love Kelby and Mary's definitions. They're fabulous. But I guess what came to me is women in community, right? It's an opportunity in a world where sometimes women's voices aren't heard. And I love the whole idea of sister armor because I think it's like having an armor around your heart, your vulnerability, but it's an armor that allows you to still breathe, show up. It's a form of protection, but it's an empowered protection for this level of work that we're trying to do. To go deep requires a level of armor sometimes. Sometimes you need the bow and arrow, the shield. Sometimes life is not fun and pretty, but in community with togetherness, it's a form of protection. That is the armor. And I love that whole metaphor, the idea, the symbolism behind that.
Yeah, me too. Beautiful, beautiful ways of talking about this, all of you. The community aspect, honestly, it's been the difference for me between success and failure, period. As a person, as a business, all of it. As a woman, community has meant everything to me. And it's, I think Mary said magical. I mean, there are magical aspects to coming together in community and collaboration, the collaborative power of all of that. Okay, so.
Can I also just say that
Yeah.
being vulnerable in a space where others are being vulnerable really allows you to be more authentic than ever before. And that there's something really profound about that. And I've really appreciated that space being held for us here.
The authenticity, I believe, is the new paradigm of being in the world. I was going to say of business, and that is true, but really just being in the world and the way that you are all walking your walk in the world, modeling that authenticity in the way, that we're describing it today in all these different ways, I think it's just world changing, profound, transformational stuff. We don't deal with small potatoes around here. Like, this is big potato stuff, right? It turns me on, seriously. Like, I have goosebumps all day long when I get to play in the sandbox with you ladies. It's awesome. Awesome. Okay, Kelby, so let's stick with you for a minute because I want you to take us into this next question, which of course we could be here all day on this one. So I know it's rough to give me short answers to these questions, but in this book and in all of Brave Healer Productions titles, we take a holistic approach very intentionally. So when it comes to this journey, Kelby, and I know you're a fan of holistic, why holistic? Help our viewers understand, why does it need to be a holistic approach?
It's sort of perfect for me in my chapter because I'm talking about illness. And if I was to be treating any of my health experience from anything but a holistic mindset, there's no way I would reach any sort of healing, because that holistic mindset is taking and encompassing every little bit about me, every molecule about me, every thought, every movement, every piece of my energy. I mean, holistic really just means all encompassing. And so therefore it's taking each and every aspect into consideration on to how our life is going to unfold, or maybe perhaps what our next step might be, or how we're going to open the door to something that feels really closed off to us at this time. So for me, holistic brings in every little aspect of ourselves and gives us the opportunity to explore, dive in, and really open up the gateways to a new life and living our own created life, our co-created life with our sisters in this way, especially.
Awesome. Okay, Kim Michelle, what do you want to add to that? Why holistic?
I love Kilby's description of
Me
that.
too.
Why holistic? And I like the all-encompassing definition, because I think this whole process, this journey of healing is organic. It's authenticity. It's, for me, it's like supporting people to live from their inner truth has to be holistic, because that deep dive into the pain, through the pain, having somebody hold your hand through the journey, it has to be the truth. And to me, holistic and the truth, it's like, what's my truth? It doesn't mean it's going to be that other person's truth, but to know what my truth is, and then to be able to live from that without being blown around like a little branch in a storm, which is how I used to be. Oh, you want this? Oh, you think this is a good idea? You think I should do that? No, like, check in. Holistic is like, what does my gut say? What's my intuition leading with? What's my inner truth? So to me, that's a very holistic process, and it's not for sissies.
I love that.
Yes, no doubt. And we get to, walk alongside a lot of warriors in this playground of ours. I am so in agreement with that. Not for the faint of heart, this journey. Mary, what do you want to add to this discussion about why holistic?
Both Kelby and Kim Michelle, you both covered so much of, the everything that comes in, what truly embodies us in our healing. Probably the only thing I can add is that when we come to that point where we have that realization that we are either in a transition or needing a transition, we usually get to that point because our life is so segmented and focused either on one thing or multiple things. A meeting in the morning, soccer practice in the afternoon, or dinner or whatnot. And so a holistic approach solves or gets into, as Kelby had mentioned, all of those little things, all of those little focuses, and takes it together and allows us to really come into a better place, not just for one part of our life, but our whole life. So I think a holistic approach is ultimately what we always come to. Kim said the organic nature that comes up. Both the organic nature and us end up focusing on everything. That's just the embodiment of what we need at while we are tackling whatever's coming forward at that time. So it's almost like it's going to be that way in the end.
Love it, Mary. Thank you for that. In my background of physical therapy, when I practiced holistically, it meant a couple things to me. One is that when that body was in my office, I was looking at the entire physical body system, where, some of us are myofascial experts. And so we look at that three-dimensional head to toe system when somebody has pain. And that was one thing. Like if they came in with an ankle sprain, I do want to look at their head and neck too. Like I want to look at the entire holistic system of the tissue itself. But then the second way was if I didn't ask them about their life, if I didn't know that they had lost a job or a spouse or had some trauma, and we didn't discuss the mental, emotional, and soul things that were going on in their life, then I was going to miss a picture, a piece of the puzzle, piece of the picture of that holistic solution, right? Because the solutions are mind, body, soul. They're all of it. So I just thought I would add that in a little bit and how I think about holistic in lots of different ways. Okay, so I have one last question for all of you, and we're going to just keep going on this discussion that we're having. And I really want to know about your personal practices. Give the listeners an idea. So Kim Michelle, what's one self-care practice that you love that you want to share in terms of the reader as a very easy kind of stepping stone on this journey?
Well, to narrow things down to one self-care
I know.
practice
It's not fair to me.
challenging. Yeah, I know. Let's see. I have so many. I mentioned journaling. I am a big journaler. I have journaled my whole life. And I have found that not only is it, I used to use it as a way to just record events. But when I really stop and I really take a look and ask myself, how do you feel today? There's something visceral about the pen to the paper that puts me in touch with my feelings in a way that other things don't. And often I'm surprised by what comes up. Sometimes emotions come up, but it offers me an outlet in a way that talking or speaking or sharing with people, it's a different sensibility. But the pen to the paper, there's a difference between hands on the computer. There's some connection that happens. So for me, that's a really big tool.
Oh, I'm a fan of this one, right? Like it's daily for me. And there is scientific research about brain science and handwriting. I mean, it's out there. You can Google that, and there a lot of stuff will come out about what's different about that than clicking away on a keyboard. Yeah, really, really powerful. Cool. Okay, listeners, we want you to go grab in your notebooks and pens today, and you can, and I love to offer. A lot of people say, I don't know what to write about. I don't have anything, just fill in the blank. I feel. That's it. Make it super simple. Definitely a journaling fan here. Mary, what's a self-care practice that you love that you want to share?
Probably one of my favorite and probably one of the easiest things to do is what I call embrace the wind. That's to go out and experience the wind, how it feels, how it sounds. Is it cool? Is it warm? What is the wind as you can experience it right then. And as you get deeper, sometimes there's a taste to it. You can see it. So you start engaging all of the senses. And as you're going through this process, a lot of things just melt away.
I think that might be the first time one of you authors has said about the wind. I really love that. Sound and tasting the wind. I'm going to have to, yeah. Like that made me pause. Like, oh yeah, can I taste the wind? That was beautiful, Mary. Thank you. All right, Kelby, you're gonna close us out today. Talk about a self-care practice that you love.
Mine actually mirrors a little bit of what Mary said there. Mine would definitely be nervous system regulation through orienting to safety in the body. And the best way to do that is engaging all of your senses, as Mary just explained. And doing it in nature is my favorite place to do it, finding a sit spot. If you sit out in nature for 20 minutes, it becomes a sit spot. And when you first arrived, perhaps everything dispersed, but after about 20 minutes, you become part of the background and all of the nature kind of comes back alive around you. And then the beauty really begins. And that's just another place where I find finding safety in my body, no matter where I'm at, really helps me be embodied.
Beautiful practices, you guys, and bring your notebook.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I can't help myself. And then bring your notebook and pen, like Michelle said. Yes, beautiful. And deep breathe while you're at it. And right. Like there's many of us who use multiple tools at once when we're, so I know that's an unfair question. Just tell me one. Because it's like you guys have 100 things in your toolkits. Authors, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone.
thanks for
Thank
having
you.
Thank you so
us.
much,
Thank you.
Laura.
Thank you.
So as you guys can tell, these author experts have a lot to offer. So just scroll on down into the show notes because I have you hooked up with their websites. They may have said something today that sparked your interest, gave you a little goosebumps, something you want to explore. They are very generously there for your questions and to support you. You are definitely not alone in this community, in this Sister Armor healing in community, book community for sure. It's a lot of communities in there, isn't it? Explore, see what awesomeness they are up to in the world because it's a lot. And if you're around on June 20th, 10 a.m. Eastern, we're going to have a live stream book launch party with all of our Sister Armor authors. You're going to find us on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page for that. And of course, if you're listening after the 20th of June, then that means the book is ready and you can hop over to Amazon and grab your copy. So maybe you are a wellness practitioner who's ready to share your brave words in one of our upcoming best-selling books. Please find us on bravehealer.com. And lastly today, everyone remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone. Bye, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Bye.